Aloha and welcome to the hearing with the Senate Committee on Economic Development and Tourism. Today is Tuesday, March 31st, 2026. This is our 1 p.m. agenda. We are in conference room 229. This hearing is being streamed live on YouTube. In the unlikely event that we must abruptly end this hearing due to technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene on Thursday, April 2nd, 2026 at 1 p.m. in conference room 229. We have a 1-minute time limit for all testifiers. We have 11 governor's messages on the agenda, all of which are great. Appointees, thank you for showing up, Senator Fukunaga. And all of you. First appointee is GM 594 gubernatorial nominee Danny Ojiri, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the advisory board of directors of the Hawaii Tourism Authority for term to expire on June 30, 2029. First up on the testifiers list is Interim President and CEO Caroline Anderson from the Hawaii Tourism Authority.
Aloha Chair Dikoi, Senator Fukunaga. We stand on our written testimony and full support. We love having Member Ojiri on our board. He brings a tremendous amount of knowledge in the visitor industry and has been helpful in guiding our brand marketing initiatives as well as our strategic tourism plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, the bid director, Mr. James Kunani Tokioka.
Thank you, Chair. Senator Fukunaga, thank you for that warm and welcoming comments in the beginning. I am here in very strong support of Danny Ojiri. He's been a great member of the board, as all of them have been. But he's very impressive. When we went to Japan with the governor, how he handled himself there with the delegation from Japan. He was very, very good and instrumental in that sector. And I know he will do an excellent job moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to testify on behalf of Mr. Ojiri? See none. If you'd like to say a few words, you should have stopped the governor when he did the hair stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Just playing.
On the record.
Since he's watching.
Aloha,
Aloha.
Chair and Senator Fukunaga. I'm honored to be here and be considered for this board position. I hope to contribute to the better of the state and use my experience to move this thing forward and gain your trust and increase the integrity of the organization.
Thank you.
No, excellent responses. Thank you.
Same here, Mr. Ojiri. I got the privilege of interviewing you earlier. I have no questions for you. You've answered all the questions. The members that are here but not here physically, they have all the questions and answers as well. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next up, submitting for considering confirmation to the advisory board of directors, gubernatorial nominee Joel Guy for a term to expire 6/30/2029. First up, Caroline Anderson, testifying for HTA.
Aloha Chair, aloha Senator Fukunaga. HTA stands in full support of having Joel Guy part of our HTA advisory board. He brings a tremendous amount of knowledge, especially in working with communities, and has proven to be exceptional as we move forward with our COE-DMAP action plan and serving and providing guidance to our strategic plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Director Tokioka for debate.
Thank you, Chair. Member Fukunaga, I echo the same comments, but I've worked with Joe for over 20 years now, and the work that he did in Hawai'i is unbelievable. He also has experience in the film industry, which is great for this time right now at HTA, and I'm in very strong support. Thank you.
Thank you, Director.
He also was with Rep. Hermina Morita's office, and that's where we work together here.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Next up, Mayor Kawakami in support. Sue Kanoho, Kauai Visitors Bureau also in support. Kathleen Chin, Hui Maka Ainana Omakana in support, and Hermina Morita in support. Anyone else wishing to testify on his behalf? See none, Joe, if you would please say a few words. See, you guys even dress good. That's what I like about you. You guys represent and, oh my God.
Trip to the big city. We gotta dress up and come along, you know. Oh boy, now they coming in.
Oh yeah, you better make fast. No, we so miss you. We've been worrying about you the whole time.
You're hoping I wasn't coming? I can go back.
I'll call you in 10. No.
Yeah, I just want to first extend my huge appreciation for Director Tokioka and the staff to come over and support us. It really makes us feel good to sit outside and, you know, not sure exactly how this will go, and just to see them walking up felt really good. So I appreciate that so much. And then I also appreciate you taking time to allow us to be of service to the state and to this amazing industry that helps so many across all parts of the islands.
Joe, thank you for wanting to serve. Members, any questions? I got a quick question.
Since I came in late.
Maybe I should let you go first. No. So Joe, as an independent videographer for many years, how do you see the film industry complementing the tourism in Hawaii?
Yeah, I'm going to bring up my, no. Yeah, you know, I think that the film industry has done amazing things. As Director Tokioka said, we worked long ago when Tropic Thunder was filmed on Kauai, and when those opportunities come, obviously it showcases our beautiful state, but it's also really, it's so valuable to see how many jobs and how many, you know, all the hotel rooms that maybe aren't rented on the high end, some of that kind of middle, and all the craft services. There's just such a large reach within our communities. Even those smaller productions can make such a difference within our communities, from big productions down to just small commercials. So we truly appreciate that.
Oh, thank
Does
you.
that make sense?
Thank you. Members?
So you've been serving on the advisory board for how long now?
Just a couple months now.
A couple months?
Yep.
And what is your sense of the advisory group and what you lend to the
Oof.
HTA?
Nah, it's been amazing. It's been, like I said, I'm fairly new at it. I do appreciate the opportunity to see the group come together and have the opportunity to be of service. It's just such an incredibly valuable industry, yet with you know, financial impacts across the state, it also has an equally opportunity to affect communities' ability to enjoy life, right? So we have that balance, and it's been great to be able to be a voice for that on the committee.
But how does the committee actually affect the community? I mean, do you feel you have a meaningful role?
I feel like I do. That's kind of what I'm hoping to be here, is to be a voice to let community make sure that we're not displaced because of an industry that's so valuable and it's so important, yet, you know, it's at risk of you know, creating this uncomfortable life for people that are working hard, whether you want to go fishing or enjoy these public places. So it's really important for me personally, and I know as the board as a whole, to make sure that we are addressing those concerns, that we are allowing places that are treasured local places, allow us to return access there.
Okay, well, I'm looking more at the contribution, because if it was so important, then why are you folks advisory and not like it was before, where you had a board and really had a say? Because as an advisory board, you don't have a say. So I'm trying to get a sense of that.
Is it someone else in the room want to talk? No, yeah, that's a great question. I feel like we do have a say. We're able to influence it, and maybe I'm just still new and I don't understand the limits of our participation, but I'm not here not to have an influence over it. Like, I really want to make sure that that voice is spoken in every part of every discussion we have, where it's the strategic planning, like that's my lane that I'm here to serve, and I hope I can be of service there.
Well, good. It's good to hear. And I'll ask all the other members similar questions. So
Thank you.
Senator Kai? Any questions? No. Thank you.
All right,
Joe.
thank you.
Okay, next up, GM 596, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the advisory board, directors of HTA, gubernatorial nominee Linda Wong for a term to expire 6/30/2029. I believe we have Linda on Zoom. IT?
Did you, this one not,
I'm here.
Yes, Chair,
but
they're on.
this one was done.
Okay, first up, Caroline Anderson with HTA.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. We stand on a written testimony in full support. Linda has been a tremendous asset on the board. She's provided great guidance, especially on our strategic plan, permitted interaction group, and the discussions. Again, we look forward to continuing with her on our board. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Director Tokioka with debate.
Thank you, Chair. Members of the committee. I know Linda is traveling right now, and she called me and said that she was going to try to be on, and she's on. So thank you, Linda, for doing this. And I will say that when the new board was appointed, the first pick the governor made was Linda because of all of her years of experience in the community and the relationships that she's had in this building and in the community. The governor wanted to make sure that she was on the board. So I just want to thank Linda for being on the board and thank her for her participation with the members of the current authority. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wanting to testify on her behalf? See none. Linda?
Yes,
You want to
I'm
say
here.
a few words? Can you go ahead and, if you want to say a few words?
oh, just thank you for the opportunity to, come before you. I'd be honored if I am confirmed for this board. I'm learning a lot, and I think the people that have been appointed, we worked in small groups on strategic planning and film and sports, and they're all good people. And I think all of us want to do a good job and not, we don't have our own special interests. And I think this board is going to try to work together to be more collaborative, looking out for our residents as well as bringing in more high-value tourists. But thank you very much for allowing me to say a few words.
Thank you, Linda. And I want to apologize. I was trying to make sure we put this hearing on when you were here. And, I just wanted to make sure that we kind of got you guys moving forward. So apologies that I
No,
couldn't
but
say
thank
anything.
you. Thank you.
Members, any questions? Senator Keys.
Full disclosure, I've known Linda for decades and very familiar with her ability to serve. And I know she serves on a number of boards and have asked to serve on a number of boards. And I can also attest that she's been involved with the Hawaii Tourism Authority on some pigs in the past or working groups in the past. And so she's very, very familiar. And so Linda, as a friend that I've known for so long, I'm going to have to ask you a tough question, right?
Go ahead.
So,
I'm ready.
well, the question is, with all your experience and having been involved with HTA and knowing some of the members that have served on HTA and all of the trials and tribulations that HTA has been through, what is your thoughts now of this setup with this advisory committee and the way we're going with the Hawaii Tourism Authority?
Well, this is a new board, and I wasn't all too familiar with the past dealings of, the last board, but I realized that I think the legislature wanted to get rid of HTA basically because of all the conflicts. I think this new board has a chance to turn things around. I think that's one of our responsibilities. And hopefully, if the legislature sees fit, they would give us a little bit more authority going back. Whereas I think if we could get funding, right now, I think as it stands, we have to go before you. We're not as autonomous as it was before. But I think with this new board, if we can show that we're willing to work and try to do a good job, possibly the legislature may, increase our responsibilities.
But you folks are just advisory, right?
Right.
You really have
right.
no legal say in getting the department or HTA to do anything, right?
Right. Yeah, understand. And but one of the reasons I enjoy this is it's a chance to meet different people who have different experiences in the industry. and to, you know, we do have some input on the strategic marketing plan where the consultants gave us the plan, then HTA staff went over it. And then we had a special committee of advisory board members. We were able to go back over the plan and give our input before it goes to the legislature. So there's some benefit for this, but hopefully, I think we're looking at having the legislature maybe reassess what the you know, duties would be for this new board.
Okay, thank you, Linda. I know you're very conscientious, and I know you do a good job. Thank you.
Thanks.
Linda, I have a follow-up question.
Uh-huh.
So Linda, what's the environment like? Do you feel that you're able to work clearly with the administration, you and the other board members, even at an advisory capacity?
Right. Yeah. So far, you know, we've only met for a couple of months, but getting to know the new board members, and I think what's really been good is co-chairs McCully and Kimberly Algas have really been good bringing, you know, their past experience from the past board. But it seems like we're all working collaboratively, trying to do a good job. There haven't been any conflicts. And I think one of the things was after our first meeting, the staff was saying, wow, it ended fast. You know, I guess the other meetings lasted 5 or 6 hours and nothing really got done. So hopefully this board, and I feel very confident that these members are all willing to do a good job, you know, not with their own special interests, but looking out for the community and how we attract more high-value tourists coming to Hawaii.
Thank you, Linda.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up. GM 597, consideration and confirmation to the advisory board of directors, Kimberly Agas, for a term to expire 6/30/2026. First up, Caroline Anderson for HTA.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. We stand on our written testimony in full support. Vice Chair Goss has been tremendous, is a leader for us and with the board. We appreciate her knowledge, especially her experience in the hotel industry, and has provided great guidance as we were developing our strategic plan. Thank you.
Next up, Director Tokioka.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Here in very strong support of Kimberly Agas. She was one of the members that we called back on. And I will say, to address this question when it comes up, that the reason that we have co-chairs is because both members that were on the previous board have very, very busy schedules. We had a discussion about how this could work. And so we made Member Agas and Member McCully co-chairs. And it's worked out really, really well. The communication amongst them and the board members has been great. And they both bring a different skill set to the table. And so, you know, you have our written testimony, but in very, very strong support. And she has been a solid rock on the board. So thank you for this opportunity to testify. And at some point, Member Kim, if you want me to talk about what we assigned members from this new setup with the advisory board, I'd be happy to let you know that when SB 1571 passed, we knew that the one responsibility that this advisory board had was to select the chair, the president and CEO. But with a great group like this, I just thought it was a waste of their time for them to just have that responsibility. So we separated out the committees, we put people in where they wanted to be. And if they have opportunities for a proposal, they put it together, they send it to the administration and to myself, and we move on some of the things that they have done. And I know for Member Wong and Member Mercia, they have done that. And so a pop-up museum will be happening in the culture and the arts, the Museum of the Culture and the Arts. And so these are the types of things they're doing with sports and other things, not just the one responsibility that they had from 1571, which is the selection of the CEO. It would be just a waste of their time, and we didn't want to have them come in just to do that. So just wanted to address the question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, Jerry Gibson, Hawaii Hotel Alliance in support, Elliott Mills, Hawaii Hospitality Group in support, Venus Pajimola, Colina Resort in support, and Dylan Cheng, Kama Hopkins, Kirsten Vasquez, and Hogan Williams also in support. Anyone else wishing to testify on behalf of the individual? Seeing none, do we have Kim on Zoom?
Not on Zoom, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll be moving right along. Next up, GM 598, also submitting for consideration confirmation to the Board of Directors, Hawaii Tourism Authority, Terry Fisher. First up, Caroline Anderson for HTA.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committees. We are in full support of Terry Fisher being part of the Hawaii Tourism Authority Advisory Board. Again, he brings a tremendous wealth of knowledge in the visitor industry, in particular tour operator, and he provided tremendous guidance as we developed our strategic plan, being the chair of that committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Director Tokioka for debate.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members. In very strong support, you have my written testimony. I do also want to address Ms. Agas. Her bosses are here from the mainland, so she said she was going to try to jump on, but it must have been a conflict with the time. So Mr. Fisher brings a great wealth of experience in tour operation, and that's part of the sectors that we wanted to cover at the HTA. So thank you for this opportunity to testify in strong support of Mr. Fisher.
Thank you. Next up, Christopher, oh, sorry. Oh, Terry Fisher, individual with comments. If you'd like to say a few words, please.
Yes, so thank you very much. My apologies for not being able to be appearing in person today. I had other commitments that I had to attend to, but thank you for the opportunity to submit testimony and expressing my interest to serve on this HTA advisory board. I'm very excited about this role just because I feel like the Hawaii's visitor industry is at a critical juncture. And I feel like we're at a point where thoughtful, balanced leadership is essential for ensuring tourism continues to thrive while supporting communities and protecting land, culture, and all the things that make Hawaii unique. I want to mention that throughout my career, I've gained a lot of experience across a lot of high demand destinations besides Hawaii, but also with the Canadian Rockies and all through the Western United States. And this background of mine, I feel, has provided me with some practical understanding on how to, balance economic opportunities with environmental stewardship and community well-being. So I'm excited to jump in and serve. And once again, I think that tourism is going to evolve, and it needs to be economically strong, as we all know. But at the same time, it needs to be culturally respectful, environmentally responsible, and supported by the local communities. So once again, thank you for the opportunity considering me, and I'd be honored to contribute my experience and perspective to this board.
Thank you, Terry. Members, any questions for the individual? Senator Wakai.
Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Fisher, for being nominated. You're one of the very few members of this board who have actual working knowledge of tourism. And I wanted to ask you about your thoughts on performance-based contracting. Right now, contractors they win a contract, a marketing firm perhaps, and whether they hit goals or not, they just continue to get paid out for the duration of the contract. There are KPIs in most of, or all of the marketing contracts, but there's no consequences. There's goals, and if you meet the goals, then you still get the same amount if you don't meet the goals. With your background and experiences, should we be going down the road of performance-based contracting? So if a marketer tells us they're going to hit certain numbers, and we have certain expectations, if they exceed those numbers, can we offer them carrots? If they miss those numbers, can we penalize them with less payment?
That's, a great question. And I honestly believe that there needs to be accountability along the way. And I think that that goes from all levels, whether it's, whoever's leading, but also the contractors, and it even filters down right into vendors. I think there needs to be a vendor responsibility that, when we look at whatever the strategic plan is for the HTA, that everybody is working in unison to accomplish those goals. So yes, I think it's absolutely critical. And I know we've talked about this through the strategic planning process, that some of the KPIs that are in place, that, possibly changing them and revising them to make them a little bit more, thoughtful towards, the changes and the things that we're trying to affect. So I absolutely agree with that. I can not necessarily tell you what that looks like right today, but I certainly think that that's something that we've talked about, even in the strategic planning, at the strategic planning level, that, we need to maybe make some changes that way.
Right, because looking at your experiences with Polynesian Adventure Tours, I imagine you're contracted to take visitors to various attractions. If you miss picking up some of the visitors, do you expect to continue to get paid the way you got paid?
Absolutely not.
Right, but in government and HTA, if they don't hit the numbers, they still get paid.
Right.
So that's
the only thing.
problem.
Yeah, it is a glaring problem. And, one of the things about it, we look at it, is that sometimes there's situations that occur that you can be on a really great track moving forward and hitting numbers and everything's flowing wonderfully. And then you have what I would refer to as these acts of God that can stop things dead in their tracks. And, it may be, we're dealing with it right now, with what's happened with the storms this last couple of weeks. And we were on a tremendous track, and then all of a sudden everything was affected. So it's kind of situations where, as long as we carve out the specific things that might not necessarily be responsibility of a contractor, but, looking at, the things that are important and deriving results driven reports from and KPIs from the things that they can control. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Terry, so I have a question for you, and you and I spoke, and I like your background, but I've had people that had your background on there, and I like the fact that I work with common sense people. How hard is it for you to educate people? And we're dealing with the Kona storms. Our challenge, I've always said, and you should know this best of all, you got to invest money to make money. How do you message across? I'll take the convention center. It wasn't an act of God. It was, not being able to deliver on that contract as should be. How do you look at the convention center and say, how do we make money off the convention? How do I promote this convention center to other people that, while I have all these other places I would take on conference to, why would I bring them to a hole in the wall that leaks all around me? What would be your message, or what would you do to help me make that convention center what it should be, to bring me the return of investment that this legislature has to invest into a convention center?
Well, and I'm just coming into this as I've joined this advisory board, and I'm in the meetings hearing about the convention center, and I've heard about it from the outside. Now I'm getting a little bit more insight into it. But certainly I think that you have, like you said, you have to invest money to make money. But one of the things that's most important is that, your infrastructure is absolutely critical. And I see that convention center as a critical piece of infrastructure, that it needs to be in great repair and it needs to be functional. And then once you have a really good asset, such as this convention center, you can go out and you can market globally. And I think that Hawaii has such an opportunity to market on a global scale that you can bring some just incredible conferences to this, to the state and to Honolulu. And I also look at it from the perspective is that we have this seasonality with tourism, where we have these ebbs and flows, where we have, certain market segments are really, really strong through certain months. And then we have other times of the year where we have some lulls. And these lulls, these ebbs and flows and these lulls are hard to manage, even from a perspective of just your staffing and community impact, is that it gets to be really, really difficult. So this convention center, I see as an opportunity that we could actually fill some gaps and bring some of those lull sections up a little bit to, create a little bit more consistency with our tourism book, even though it's, I would say that meetings and events is definitely a specific segment within the tourism industry. And so this convention center, I think it's critical. It's absolutely critical that it needs to be in great repair. And I'm glad to see that there's repairs underway, but I think that there's a huge opportunity. And, I would, advise from my perspective is to, if there was any advice that we could put forth to the legislature, is this: yes, this is a critical piece of infrastructure that we can't ignore, and we have to make sure that it's in good repair. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So, and like you said, due to unfortunate circumstances, and, this rain did us no justice. While construction is underway, now we're pumping water off of the convention center. But, I always believe that I got to invest money to make money. So I just have a follow-up question because of your background. Do you see much potential for tourists to go on tours to Pearl Harbor's Arizona Memorial, going to the stadium's future development and entertainment district that may contain retail shops and dining options and a cultural center showcasing local arts and history? And are there other tours that can make this stop as well as we look towards investment into Hawaii's tourism industry?
Absolutely. I mean, I will say personally, from our perspective, is that, Pearl Harbor, for instance, the way it's set up with the ticketing system through recreation.gov, I mean, it's for how we line up 60 days in advance to purchase these tickets. It's like buying concert tickets for Taylor Swift. You have about 30 seconds to purchase your tickets, but then if you miss that, you're out. But at the same time, we still have all these guests that want to see these attractions. So the fact is that we have the Arizona, but we also have become very, very creative in how we do it personally with Polynesian Adventure Tours, is that saying, all right, well, if we didn't get Arizona tickets, we can still go to the Missouri, we can still go to the Pacific Aviation Museum, we can do the Bowfin, and we can create a fabulous experience. If there's something that would go beyond just that to enhance the visitor experience, I think it would be, a welcome addition to the infrastructure of what we could sell, what we could provide. Because I think that we're always looking for new innovative products to put out there. And the one thing I'll say is that when we have these products, this is the best way to steward tourism, is when you have these organized groups and you can keep people in these organized environments where we can educate them and we can control them and tell them what they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing, and giving them some background on the history and the culture. And I just feel like when we have these types of things and we have it where we can control how this all works, I think it's just going to help the overall, much more. I think that you and I, when we talked last week, talked a little bit about the fact that I think that, kind of reeling it in a little bit. And this is something that I've been incredibly focused on, is the stewardship part of it. But, creating other opportunities to, where we can guide tourism rather than just, trying to control tourism.
Thank you, Terry. Members, any other questions? Senator Kim.
Thank you, Terry. Before I ask a question, just wanted to say that I did work for Polynesian Adventure Tours back in the 70s, probably before, you're probably still in school. but that was one of the things I did in the tourism industry, among others. But I want to go back to the convention center.
Sure.
And we talked about how important that it is to be pristine and to repair. But keep in mind that the convention center, when it was new, when it was pristine, it was still a loss leader. We still, yeah, and I know convention centers don't make money. So that's what we're faced with. And over the years, they've been an issue, and I've, as tourism chair back in the early 2000s, we talked about the marketing of the convention center. And back then, HVCB, we had they were marketing long-term, more than a year out. And that the convention center itself was marketing the short-term, up to 12 months. And there was confusion as to who they call. Do they call the convention center an HTA for reservations? Do they call it HVCB, which people don't know about HVCB, that, you know, people coming in, they think, oh, convention center, we want to have a venue, we want to do a convention, what do they call the convention center? Well, then they're told they got to go to HVCB. And then when there's problems with the contract, they complain to HTA or they complain to the convention center, but then it's HVCB who made the promises. So there are a lot of problems. So we changed that contract and we made it where the marketer of the convention center should eat, sleep, market conventions. Because just like the Sheraton, just like all the hotels, they do their own in-house marketing, right? So they're accountable, they're responsible. Okay, so we passed that, it finally went into effect, and then it changed back. Now, again, we have a third party marketing it. So what do you think as the board, as your experience, how do you think we should be marketing the convention center?
You know, I think it should be a combination of, and I think that there needs to be great collaboration between HTA, HVCB, and every DMC that operates in the state of Hawaii. Because there are events that you can go to, like PCMA, where you have these national conferences that are meeting planners that manage all of these massive, massive conventions and meetings across the country. And they always, you know, sometimes they'll stick with one center year after year, or sometimes they like to move around. And it's with those, we need to be at these conferences and we need to be directly marketing to all of these different meeting planners and convincing them that they need to bring their meeting to Hawaii. And like I said, right now, it seems to be very, very confusing as to who's supposed to be doing that. But I think it needs to be a combination of that.
Well, I think that's the problem. That's the problem. It's a combination, and it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. So, you know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. So what are we doing?
You know, and I don't know much about what the history of this was, but I understand and I see the way it works. So one of the other areas where I also operate a transportation company is in LA and Orange County. And we have just down the street from our other business, the Anaheim Convention Center. And the Anaheim Convention Center is a going concern. It has so much activity in and out of it all the time. And we do a ton of transportation for it. And it is the Anaheim CVB that is the primary promoter of the Anaheim Convention Center, but who they're promoting to and who they're meeting with are DMCs and meeting planners from all of these national events and conferences. So I think it's a matter of, let's sit down and let's lay it out and let's just decide, who's it going to be? Is it going to be HVCB? Is it going to be HTA? Or is it going to be a anointed DMC in the state of Hawaii that's going to be the primary? I think it's either HTA or it's HVCB, and you get your meeting planning department, and then you set a plan and you turn them loose. And that's how I feel that it needs to be. And then all of the like PRA, MCNA, De Silva, all of the big DMCs in the state of Hawaii will all be, you know, hyper connected to whoever's in charge of this. And then it's a coordinated effort to go out to these conferences and just go after them, you know, go after these big meetings.
I agree with you. So you don't think that the operator of the convention center, who knows the convention center, knows everything about it, is not in the best position to market the convention center, like the Hilton hotels, like the Sheraton? Because I say the day that the Sheratons and the Hiltons go out and get HVCB or HTA to market their properties, then I think you can make an argument that we need to do that for the convention
Yeah.
center.
Well, excuse my ignorance about this. I'm not exactly sure of the protocol and the structure of who manages it now. I'm not sure exactly where it falls, but if I understood that matter, I might be able to answer this question a little bit more intelligently. But understanding that is like whoever is in charge needs to basically come up with their marketing plan on how they're going to move forward. And they have to come up with a very comprehensive marketing plan of where they're going to go, instead of just sitting waiting for the phone to ring, thinking that somebody's going to just come to Hawaii because we're Hawaii and we're amazing and people just come here. It's like, no, we actually have to get out and actively market, and there needs to be a plan for that.
Okay. Well, I hope that the board and yourself will be in the front of this. And, you brought up the fact that you don't know the history. Well, I hope all of you will find out the history, because you ought to know the history. You ought to know how many different vendors we've been through, what worked and what didn't work. And you know what? Having been there from the beginning, and that's the beauty of longevity, that I know all of that history. But it's up to you folks to find out. And I don't believe any of you have tried to find out at this point. So I hope that you folks take that to heart.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We certainly will. No, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, GM 599, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the directors of HTA gubernatorial nominee Marcia Elmore for term to expire 6/30/2029. First up, HTA Interim President Caroline Anderson.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. HTA is in full support of Marisha Elmore to be part of the HTA Advisory Board. Since she started with the board, she's been amazing. She is passionate about the film industry and makes sure that, when we were talking in our strategic plan permitted interaction group, that we did not forget about film, and that it was part of both our brand marketing and visitor experience development areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Director Tokioka with DBID.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, and the members of the committee. In strong support, you have our written testimony. And as Caroline Anderson spoke, Marcia brings a strong background in the film industry. So the advisory board made her the chair of the film committee. And as I talked about earlier, she came up with an idea that we put into place as a pop-up museum for film. And then that will hopefully lead into a permanent spot for a film museum. So with strong support, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, Christopher Wiki with Ayatsi 665 in support. Walea Constantino for Honolulu Film Office.
Aloha Chair, members of the committee, Valea Constantino with the Honolulu Film Office. I'm so thrilled to see someone of Marisha's caliber and knowledge of the industry being able to serve on this board. We believe that a strong connection between the film industry and the tourism organization can only lead to really great things. And we've already seen how hard she's been working to help make those connections. Thank you so much for the opportunity to provide comments.
Thank you. Next up, Michael Galoyo, also in support. Sorry, they had you on Zoom. Like, you're here. So I was like, why do they have you on Zoom here?
Good afternoon, Michael Galoya Jr., he, him pronouns, President of Pride at Work Hawaii. It is my extreme honor and pleasure to be here today to advocate for Marisha to be on the HTA board. I've had the privilege and knowledge of working with her over the last decade. There's very few people that can get me off the mountain to come down here to testify for them in one of these wonderful things. And this is actually my first time testifying before this body, this committee, so after 25 years. So special things come together. And so Marisha is a very special person, and Hawaii is lucky to have her willing to give her time and her energy to this board, especially as you go into this new endeavor. I know there are a lot of problems at HTA. I've read the headlines, I've been paying attention for the last 25 years. So yeah, and I echo some of the concerns that we've heard from Senator Kim. And I know that with her ability there and her willingness to work towards making these things better and making sure film is not an afterthought, as it has been for way too long at HTA. So on that note, I would encourage you all to pass her and confirm her on the board. Mahalo.
Thank you, and thank you for coming down from the Mauna.
You've been here, yeah, you've been here often. Okay.
So we got 30 people in support, 0 in opposition, 0 with comments, and in light of time constraints, anybody else wanting to testify on behalf of Marcia? See none, Marcia, if you come in, say a few words, please.
Hello. Hi. It's nervous to be on this side with my name on this.
Oh,
My goodness. Hi, thank you so much. Thank you. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is such an honor and a privilege. And when I got the call from director, I had to think about it for a little bit because I know that I come at it from a different place and I do have, a different background. And I am humbled by this board and all their knowledge. And you're right, we need to know more. And I've been, since August, since we were appointed, little by little learning and educating myself. And the more I educate myself, the more I really stand with such awe at all the folks that are already here. And I took the exercise of reading through everyone's resume and also, again, feeling like, oh, what am I doing here? But I want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to learn more and to contribute what I can through my experience and skills to also bridge that gap and shine a light on the fact that the products we make in the entertainment industry, whether it's film, and I wrote this in my questions, it could be just fleeting moments as part of a short film, or a series where Hawai'i is central, is one of the characters even, right? These are huge and it's generational and it's evergreen, and this kind of marketing lasts forever. And I know it sounds floral and poetry-like, but it stays with your heart for the folks who especially love movies and just even consume TV. These things stay in your brain, and whatever I can do to help that and to continue that partnership, I'm grateful for the opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you. Members, any questions?
yeah, I'm going to start.
Senator
Hi,
Kim.
Marisa.
Hello.
Thank you for your willingness to serve. My hope is that, and maybe you can lend something to this, is that what more can we do at the convention center to be able to showcase and highlight some, be it film, music and dance and so forth. There was a proposal made many years ago, and I still have the proposal in my office, of putting the music and dance museum on the top level, because we knew that the roof needed to be repaired, and to just spend the money for the repair of the roof, we thought, okay, we're going to put the music and dance, we're going to make the floor, we're going to take use of that square footage, and we would have that there. So when we have the captured audience of conventions and they had lulls in their schedule, they could go up there and partake. We could bring in halaus, we could bring in arts and crafts, weaving, coconut hat weaving, these kinds of activities within the convention center itself. And then, of course, it never came to pass. They said it was too expensive. At the time, the roof repair was going to cost, $40 million, and to do this whole thing was going to be more. And now, the roof itself is costing way beyond that. Again, lack of hindsight back then as to what we can do. But how do we highlight and showcase the soul of Hawai'i, which is music and dance, and through film, how can we do that and incorporate it into the convention center where we have a captured audience from time to time?
As I listen to you talk about the convention center and that roof part, and all the activities, the storyteller's mind, I'm picturing it now. And thank you so much for educating me to that, because I didn't know that that was an option to do it there, or it was even something that was thought of. But I think that would be a great idea. I mean,
It's kind of too late now.
it's too late now, but I think in the arts world and also just in regular general community living, we lack these third spaces. Right, the spaces where, whether we come together as a community to observe and learn, or just be, or as people say, hang out, as young kids say, hang out. I can envision that for, maybe in the future as construction and repairs progress, that a pocket there will always be some little pocket of the convention center for that space, for the arts, for film. And wouldn't it be great to have a place to screen shorts? I'm thinking, if I can go on like 30 seconds tangent, Austin Airport once, they had this thing where you walk through the airport and they had a display for costumes, for different costumes here and there. But at the time, they were also storing short films. So something like that. It doesn't have to be an ornate, here's this big, huge building we're going to spend millions of dollars on, but finding a space to tuck into, to highlight and honor dance and music, film, and incorporate short film and those other, I mean, if we really think big, incorporate the content that's being made by the influencers that live here in Hawaii. And that's how people are consuming. We talked a lot about verticals in other bills, but perhaps this is also a place for that to live. And whether it's you're walking through and you see the content and you access it that way, if we wanted to go even bigger, accesses it on our phone, here's your QR code scan, so it becomes an interactive thing. But I feel like with the space that we have and the wonderful minds and technology we have here in Hawaii, why not partake in it and take part and give that opportunity to the young people who are already making the content to begin with? So I love that idea, and thank you for teaching me, because now it's in my brain, and you know me, when things get in my brain, it's gonna stay there until it look, you laughing because you know how I am. It's gonna be there.
I'm going to
So
put more
thank
things
you.
in your brain right now.
You got to put them in my brain because they don't go away.
Well, and part of this too is also, we want to bring the locals back to Waikiki, right? We want to bring the families and the hula dancers and whatever it is that back to Waikiki. So it doesn't necessarily have to be at the convention center. We looked at the Royal Hawaiian Shopping Center, but I think it's imperative that HTA, being the arm, being the tourism authority, should be looking at these opportunities where we could put it elsewhere if we can't do it at the convention center or put it in. The other thing is, we had the opportunity, I believe it was it in Korea or Japan, that we went to a fair, and they had those glasses.
Yeah.
And they took us, and then, it was a Hawaii one. And so it was like we're flying over Hawaii and everything. Imagine if we could do that with the history of music and dance, and people come in and put the glasses on and have an opportunity with that venue to see the music, to see Danny Kalekini, to see, Hilo Hattie, to see all of these entertainers, Ku'ili, Don Ho. I mean, it would be amazing.
And there's your history, the history lesson that we all need to learn.
These are simple things that I think of. I don't understand why the experts in the area, the people that are in charge, are not pursuing these things. And so
I hope I'm here to help you now, to be that sounding board for you.
Yes, so now I hope that, it's something you'll take back, and then you guys will not just discuss it, but then look at ways and how we implement.
And as director will tell you, I love to write a proposal. He's like, a proposal's coming, man. I know, they get annoyed at the proposals that come in, but I'm good with the proposal and a spreadsheet.
We
so
need
we're
some
there.
creativity, and we need to be proactive.
Thank you.
So, thank you, Marissa.
Thank
Look forward
you.
to hearing more from you.
Senator Favela.
Yeah, since my colleague gave me this since I came into this building,
Thank you.
What is
2015.
Oh,
This is what should have happened at the convention center, besides having hotels there. But again, the industry wasn't up to par to what she was trying to present. And then, of course, the industry listened to the hotel industry and said, hey, build hotels. We're gonna bring you the business. And now we're getting stiff. Now we're getting hard time to do what we need to do to provide. Well, Senator Kim showed me this, and she had explained to me what it was important of this. And not just the aspect of having this history presented there. The part was having hula halaus and other guys come over there and perform and practice and, utilize the convention center. And then would be a give back to the convention center that, because they go in there for free and utilizing the place, that they can give back the culture, the learning and all of that. Bamba, when you get a chance, I don't know if you can, I'm not gonna give you this, but you can come look at it in my office.
I'll come look at it. I'll come
But
hang out at your
I'll never get rid
office
of
and
this. I
look.
love this idea. I think we still can.
Yeah.
Regardless of what the trials and tribulations that we're having at the convention center, working together with film and tourism, this can happen. Whether it's gonna happen through virtual or area, because our convention center is big enough. Yeah, we're not gonna be able to do it because of the roof situation and how she wanted it done. But incorporate what she has in here, majority, over 50%, would be more than enough to get what we need to do at the convention center. Convention center is failed because we listen to other people that's not from here, telling us how to run the convention center. How she got the idea, because Kalihi, Farrington girl, she lived here. So she's seen tourists come and go. So she knew So again, what she's telling everybody, and I'm not saying everybody should be an expert, I'm not saying she's an expert, but she's an expert to me, to going forward. Because again, I learned a lot just in a short time I'm here about how important that tourism is. Even though my mom worked at the hotels, I didn't know that the layers of what we can do with the funding, and we don't do that. We didn't have that transformation from the Hawaii Tourism Authority for decades. We need to have that implemented, that they understand that that is the priority. These right here, culturally, should be our priority, because that's why people come here. They don't come here to be Vegas. Sorry, Glenn. I mean, you know, they don't come here for Vegas. I mean, you know, everybody has but they come here for our culture.
Yeah.
And how are you gonna have that at the center of Waikiki, and we don't have nothing really culturally moving within that center for decades? In 2015, when this was proposed, to now, you know, so that's just my spiel, but I urge everybody to either go to her office or come to my office and just look through them, because it's a very, very awesome idea. I wish I was there in 2014, 15 and been here, because I would have supported this 110% there.
I can't wait to look at it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to learn more.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I have to qualify. Thank you for the credit, but I don't deserve all that credit. So definitely, it's an idea and thought, but I have to credit Mike McCartney, who was the head of HTA back then, and recognizing that we had to repair the roof, and why don't we put my idea on the rooftop? So it was a group of people. After that, I had nothing to do with it. They put together a group.
Yeah.
They went around the island. They met up. We put aside $1 million a year into the fund that would help fund it. And then we put together, or the group put
Yeah.
together, and they hired architects, and they put that whole thing together. So it's a whole plan, complete plan.
I can't wait to look at it.
And it's interesting that, you know, even the current administration of HTA and stuff, have not come and asked to see it or want to know the history, because I don't know that they know the history. But it's about time that they did.
So hopefully in that little idea of the convention center, I think what she forgot to recognize is she was part of the hula dancing crew. So in the decades of, you know, maybe there should just be like history of Senator Kim. Then she tries to like force us all to do that too, but.
It'll be in the VR.
But
We can dance with you, yeah.
But you know, film has been one full-on interest of mine, because I realize what the capabilities of what the film industry does, because it markets.
Yep, and we're grateful for you.
It literally markets.
Yeah.
So only question I have for you, what can the tourism industry do to help the film industry make Hawaii a more attractive place to film in Hawaii?
That's a very good question, and it's one that I think is really complex, because when we think about what's going to make it more attractive, right? We can, and we've talked about this, we can go to tax credits, we can go to this and that. And I was recently in New Zealand, so I spent some time there and seeing how.
I waited for you to come.
I know, you're so good, thank you. And how easy they make it to come and film. And I think that's one of the things that we can probably learn from here, is that, you know, I've talked about before how Hawaii's open for business. Right, and whether it's Hawaii's open for business with regards to, you know, all kinds of business, we also need to make sure that the people who make film, TV, and content know that. So that's part of it. How Hawaii tourism can play into that, I think, is part of the general, I'm going to use advertising marketing, but really putting it out there that we are open, we're ready. We do have a tax credit that already exists. We do have crew here, whether it's all the workforce from our union, IATSE, Teamsters, there's people here that are ready to work. And I think putting that message out there for real, I think that's one of the first things we need to do. Another thing, so I'm so glad you asked, I actually wrote thinking you were going to ask me this question. I have a little idea, another proposal, which you'll get, that's tied to the idea of the film museum, and also what we're talking about here is strategically going to cities that we want to bring people from and doing a pop-up film festival. So little pop-up film festivals of movies, TV shows. I'm thinking of this, there was a show on PBS called Molly of Denali, where they had Hawaii writers and voice actors on one episode. Even things like that to showcase to folks, hey, short films, TV episodes, little pop-up film festivals So that not only are we showing great content and long commercials to people, but we're also showing them, hey, all these things were made in Hawaii.
Okay, perfect. So is Lanai
Made
part
in-
of your working group?
He is not.
Okay, Lanai is part of the working group.
We should get Lanai part of the group. He is not.
Film working group, he's got some good ideas.
So something like that. So then you go to the, like you're in Vancouver, you're in Seattle, you're in Wellington, whatever, and you take a day, a night, and bring in a little festival to show all the content. And hey, this was made in Hawaii. The same way you say your chocolate, your macadamia nuts made in Hawaii, this TV show made in Hawaii.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, better move on.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you, Marcia.
You know how I get with you.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, it's 45 minutes.
I know. Get ready when you get to the office. You better have an hour at least. No. Okay, next up, GM 600, submitting for consideration and confirmation to HTA Board of Directors, Grant Tabora. Term to expire 6/30/2029. First up, HTA, Caroline Anderson. You can stand up here and
Oh,
take
okay.
testimony. Yeah.
Okay, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, we stand on our written testimony in support. We appreciate Lanai's, experience with sports and entertainment, and he's been invaluable to our board. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Director Tokioka for debate.
Chair, Vice Chair, members, standing in strong support of Grant. I didn't know his name was Grant.
I didn't, yeah. Who's Grant?
From Lanai.
Maybe he'll be watching this hearing, but very strong support. And all of the things that Caroline said, he brings a wealth of information and experience to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have Grant on Zoom? Or anybody else wishing to testify on his behalf? Okay, we have Grant on Zoom.
Not on Zoom, Chair.
Shucks. Shucks. We're just gonna do a roast. No, thank you. Thank you. Okay, next up, GM 601, Advisory Board HTA, Troy Lazaro, for a term to expire 6/30/2029. First up, CEO, Interim President CEO Caroline Anderson for HTA.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, we stand on our written support, written testimony in support of Member Lazaro. He has been wonderful, especially representing Hawaiian culture on our board. He opens up every board meeting with a henna and sets the tone for our board meetings. And again, we just appreciate him being part of our board.
Thank you. Next up, Director Tokioka with debate.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair. He's a Kauai boy. I've known Kumo Hinano for 30 years now. And it was a proud moment for me when I got to give him the call to ask him to be on the board. So just a strong advocate for the Hawaiian culture. If you were at the conference and you saw his ole and the hula that they did was amazing. It was actually chicken skin moment. So we want to mahalo Kumo Hinano, and thank you for this opportunity for this.
Thank you. Would have been nice to see if you had Director Tokioka doing the hula while you was doing it. Yeah, that would have been a sight to see. No, thank you. So we have 12 people in support, nobody in opposition, no comments. Anybody else wishing to testify? Yeah, say a few words, please. Mahalo for coming.
Mahalo nui loa. Thank you so much for allowing me the privilege to fly over here today to be with all of you. Mahalo nui for your time, for your energy, and I just like to say that I gave up my real job about 10 years ago in the visitor industry to pursue culture and community relations through my halau Kapahula o Hinano, which is established on Kauai. Being a liaison for our culture, our host culture, is it's such a kuleana, but it's a kuleana that I wear on my heart, in my na'au, in every breath that I take and every expression that I can share. I didn't think I was going to have a voice on this board when I first came because I wasn't sure as to what this kuleana was at hand. And as I learned about the position that I had, I realized that I had a voice, and a voice that would enable me to advocate for the kama'aina, for the local people, to advocate for practitioners, for people who carry the flag of Hawaii, who are truly ambassadors of aloha, who live that life each and every day, that I would be able to partner with them if there ever is a need for me to ask questions. I know that I have a community of people that I can reach out to be able to bring forth a great answer to the questions at hand. And it has been a privilege to work with Caroline and the board members and everyone at HTA. It truly has been. They're a wonderful family, and everyone is not just so nice, but to be able to be there for them, to offer our support as a board, to be able to offer our insight culturally, administratively. You've heard from all of these board members. We all come from different ways of life. We all come from different backgrounds. But as we come together, we're able to partner up and be great kia'i for the Hawaii Tourism Authority, not just for Waikiki, but for all of our islands, because we are Hawaii Tourism Authority. We're not just the convention center. We're not just Waikiki. We are all of Hawaii. So if I'm going to come into a space and advocate for just one tiny little place, Waikiki and Hawaii, then that is not why I would like to be on the board. I would like to be on the board to be able to provide my insight as a cultural steward, to be able to partner with people. And there were so many questions that were asked earlier about direct questions, and that we would have all of the answers. And to be honest with you, that's why a board is so important, because we can collaborate with each other, we can bounce off ideas, we can listen to each other and gain insight by the intuitive and the smarts that we're surrounded by on this board. I'm proud to stand on the board. I'm proud to be there. It makes me feel great to be able to not just do hula 7 days a week, but to actually feel like I'm contributing so much more to our community. Not just for our visitors, but for our kama'aina and the people who call Hawaii home. So thank you so much for the opportunity. Mahalo nui.
Mahalo, mahalo, Troy. Members, any questions for the individual? See, you got everybody speechless. This is why our interview was so good, Troy. I just loved it. No,
Mahalo.
No, I think you and I talked, and we had this conversation about what do you want to see. So I appreciate your commitment, and like the rest of the members, everybody brought a different perspective of what they want to see of the board, and it was more on a collaborative level. So thank you.
Mahalo. Thank you. Yes.
Oh, now she got to speak. I should have just stopped
I
it
was
now.
waiting. Well, first of all, just to let you know that, I'm a student of Anti-Maikia.
So we're in the same lineage of hula. So.
Exactly. So that's a part
Just
of
years
me.
different.
Just a little bit.
But, in all due respect, having been here the longest, I've been in office on this table, I know Carol is somewhere up there with me. I have heard and seen from boards, okay? I have seen the HTA board transform from bad to good to best, better, to back to not so good, where we're at. And the collaboration, everything, but things didn't get done. So we need more than just collaborating. We need more than just picking each other's brain, coming together. We gotta act. We gotta do something. Isn't it sad that in Hawaii we don't have a music and dance museum?
It is crazy that every island doesn't have a Hawaiian Culture Center, period.
Yeah, exactly. We have a Japanese culture center, Chinese cultures. I've said that. The Koreans wanted Filipinos. I said before, we need a Hawaiian cultural center. But the Hawaiian community has not been strong advocates to get there. And it's sad that we're in that situation, and I don't know how we fix it.
I totally hear what you're saying. I believe that this new generation of Hawaiians that are strong kia'i today, I believe that we are the people that are going to make the difference, not just for us, because we see the value in allowing something like a convention center for Hawaiian people or a space for Hawaiian people to come together, to learn, to share, to grow as Hawaii grows. I think community centers like neighborhood centers, we've as practitioners have outgrown those community centers. But you are right. And it sometimes is mind-boggling. And I know that speaking that it should become from a collaborative space on making decisions and all of that. But, you know, in just hearing all of the conversation and all the dialogue that's happened, I sit in my board meeting and I think to myself, wow, how come we're not going to give the Hawaii Convention Center the rest of the funds to fix their roof, you know, to do it all one time? So to me, I sit there in that space and I'm like, I wish I had the voice to be able to say, I think we need our people to hear us that this shouldn't be a question, because if your roof on your home was broken, you would fix it. You know, all of it. You would not want a leaking hole in any part of your roof. And so when I heard in our last meeting that those funds were not allocated, it made me think to myself like, well, are we the problem, or is our collaborative efforts as we work together, is that an issue? You know, because we're the Board of Tourism, and we stand firmly to support all of the men and women who work at the Hawaii Tourism Authority. But you said it, we don't have the authority to advocate for the roof in the way that I would like to, because, you know, it would fall on deaf ears. Our mana'o wouldn't go anywhere.
Troy, the camera on you.
Oh, Kalamai.
No, you're advocating right now.
Okay, so Kalamai, to me, when I'm sitting in that room, I think to myself that I would like to advocate not just for the building, but for the people who are trying hard to make a difference and to fight for those funds so that those funds can be allocated. Because why would you fix something twice if you could do it once and do it well? You know, so when I look at all the people that are working and I see the frustration and I see the heart, right? Because there is a lot of heart at HTA. I will tell you that I've experienced that firsthand. They're very passionate, but they're also tied down. And sometimes they would need a little bit of freedom to be able to make decisions that would impact the longevity of the structure of the building and the infrastructure that surrounds it. Sometimes as kama'aina, you know, for us as Kanaka, Oiwi, people of Hawaii, right? When we go to a heiau, and we enter a sacred space, we pule, we ask permission, even though there's nobody there. When we go there, if there's opala, our kuleana is to pick it up. If there are things that are broken, our kuleana is to fix it without wanting anything in return. Because as ambassadors of aloha through the hula, through the olelo Hawaii, through the language and the genealogy that we are all connected to, and you know, right, because as a hula person, we know our hula genealogy better than we know our own family sometimes. The kuleana at hand for all of us and for everyone at HTA really is the foundation. You know, kuleana, the responsibility that they have, but when the responsibility is shared and sometimes fallen on deaf ears, and sometimes it's not as important. The HTA is a partner with the state of Hawaii. It's not your enemy. It is your partner. And so when they come to you and ask you, can I have $20 million because you have it so that we can fix our roof? And it's already sitting there. To me, as a kama'aina and as a board member, I would think that people would stand up and say, we're gonna give you this, you're gonna fix it, but you gotta promise me something. You're gonna fill those buildings and those rooms with people in it so that those units can be filled and that the convention center can, in return, make money. If you have a good product, it's easy to sell it. If your product is broken, it's very challenging to sell it. So when we talk at our meetings and we have kuka and we have discussions, we all think like this, but not a lot of us are not going to articulate it and share it. But I'm sharing it today, and I thank you for the time, because I'm a very passionate person, not just for hula and culture, and not just as a board member, but as an advocate for Hawai'i and for our wonderful staff at HTA. I will tell you that I have always felt the spirit of aloha within the space. So even though there are not movies or craft fairs there, when you go and you are a part of an event that takes place at the Hawaii Convention Center, I can tell you that the people and the staff, from the people who are serving you drinks to the food, they're all embody this beautiful essence of aloha. So there is a foundation of it. You have in that book, it is there, it's living. It might not be living in the capacity that you have visualized, but it is a start. And you are right, we don't know everything that's happened, but I will tell you, I watched months of videos of the HTA board meetings before I became a board member, and I was appalled. So I can see why a lot of the kuleana and the responsibility was taken away from the board, but we are new. We don't have hidden agendas. You know, I came here today on my own ticket because it's important for me to be here. It's important for me to come to show you I'm willing not just to serve, but to be a voice, not just for myself, but for the generations to come and for the people who cannot speak. So I mahalo you. Thank you so much for that. And kalamai if I went off the trend.
So I need to follow up. Thank you for that. So you said it. But understand that we have roofs across the state that are leaking. And I use that as a metaphor. We have problems across the state, and we have to sit here, and it's not as simple as, oh, we need $20 million, can you give us 20 million? Also the history on how that 20 million grew into 100 million, you know, which we are accountable for all of that increase. So it's not as simple as just in space and time now that they need this money, that they're not getting it. There's a lot of stuff that go on. And sadly enough, some of it they inherited from past, but at the end of the day, we're responsible. At the end of the day, we should be the keepers, we should be holding people accountable, which is what I try to do. Because if you don't hold the current people accountable, and then they mess up, and then they leave it to the next generation, or leave it to the next board, and now the next board has to pick it up. So it's important that you understand the history, you understand where we're coming from and why this is happening. Not because we don't have the kuleana for the convention center. We had a pristine convention center, and we still couldn't sell it. I mean, we sold it, but we can't make a lot of money because it's a loss leader nature. The other thing is not so much it's the culture and having a community center, but preserving our culture and the history for our future generations. You know, preserving the people that have passed and their works of art. You know, like I said earlier, Uncle Danny,
even my
Kiwa
kumu passed, so you could say
exactly.
my kumu,
Yeah, and then we want to preserve them before they go, and that was my whole thing, that we need to get them on film, we need to get their history told before they pass away, so we can capture that and preserve that, and we can't do that with just a community center. We need a music and dance museum of some sort, something that will preserve this for generations to come when we're gone.
I totally agree.
So
Thank you for that,
So,
Senator.
so I hope that the board will focus on that. Thank you.
Thank you. So I just wanted to follow up. Shit, everybody's roof is leaking, but not all of us can make money, right, on it. So I always try to look for, how do I get the other roofs fixed? If I can make money off of fixing the roof that will make me the money, right? With that being said, we get every culture. Centers, Hawaiian centers and stuff, Portuguese, Heritage Center, Puerto Rican, Japanese. What would you think if we just had the Hawaiian Cultural Center at the convention center?
I think that would be absolutely amazing. You know, that would be a wonderful opportunity. And I know you spoke of that, a little bit of that li'i earlier. I think that's wonderful, utilizing existing spaces that we already currently have that are not being used as a space in which could be used as a cultural center, a Hawaiian cultural center. I think that would be a win.
Why not at the place where everybody will come for a conference to
Hiki no.
educate and teach them? Thank you.
Then we can teach them lei making and hala making
Bring
and
her
all
back
that.
in from retiree to go dance hula. Thank you. Thank you, Joy.
You're welcome.
Mahalo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mahalo.
Okay, I guess I better move on. Okay. Next up, GM 602, consideration and confirmation for Board of Directors HTA Gubernatorial Leah Belmonte. First up, Caroline Anderson on behalf of HTA.
Well, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, we stand on our written testimony and strong support. Member Belmonte has been extremely valuable for our board. I appreciate her attending our board meetings, and she's also part of our administrative standing committee and CEO of Community Interaction Group, and has been a tremendous resource for us. And so we appreciate her and we love her to continue on as a board member.
Thank you. Next up, Director Tokioka with DBID.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. It's very strong support of Leah. She brings an excellent amount of expertise in the human resources that I did not know, and I had just recently met her, but her expertise has been invaluable to the board, especially as we're going through this election of the president and CEO. So for all of those things.
Thank you, Director. Next up, former Lieutenant Governor Shan Tsutsui and COO for Mahipono, also in support. And Clifford Caesar, also in support. Anyone else wishing to testify? Okay, Leah, you please say a few words and thank you for being here.
Aloha. It's truly an honor to be here, and I just wanted to mahalo all of you for also serving as well, especially while legislative session is active. So thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me today. You know, it would truly be an honor to be able to serve on this Hawaii Tourism Authority board. You know, born and raised here on Maui. And as far as my first career, it was in the hospitality industry. So that always has a special place in my heart to serve within the tourism industry. As a mother, as a young grandmother, you know, being able to share those stories with our children, our grandchildren, and be able to make that impact for the next generation. It really is an honor to be able to serve on this advisory board. So really just thank you for the opportunity to serve, and mahalo.
Thank you, Leah. You know, Leah, I just wanted to say I've known you for many, many years. And I think you've done an excellent job in just about whatever you've been tasked with, whether it was the governor's liaison, you know, working in industry. So thank you. I know your time has been precious, and, you know, you've always been for the people in advancement. But I'm gonna ask my board, my committee, if they have any questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up, GM 603, somebody for consideration and confirmation to the board, James McCulley for a term to expire 6/30/2026. First up, interim president CEO Caroline Anderson.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, we stand on our written testimonies and full support of Member McCulley. You know, he's been our past board member, he continues on as our board member, he keeps us on our toes, and we appreciate him and his service to the authority. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Director Tokioka with DBID.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair. It's very strong support. Echo the comments that Ms. Anderson stated. You know, Jim he brings a very distinct amount of talent when it comes to reading the bylaws, reading HRS, and helping the board and members in the public understand, you know, what HTA is dealing with. So for all of those reasons, it's very strong support.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to testify on the individual's behalf? Seeing none, members, any questions? Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm sorry, Jim. I figured we needed the whole 15. No.
Now you give my introduction.
I apologize.
I'm a shrinking violet, Chair. So Chair, Mr. Quaid.
Thank you.
Senators, thank you very much. I'd first like to thank previous Governor Ige for nominating me originally to serve on this board, and for Governor Green to have the confidence to ask me to serve in the new advisory board. And so I'd also like to thank Director Tokioka for his former membership on the board, where he was a fellow, a colleague, but also now is our DBED director, providing support to our authority staff, which is very much appreciated by the board itself. And I look forward to continuing to serve the state of Hawaii, the people, my family, my friends, if this committee feels that they can confirm me. So thank you.
Thank you, and I know you've been through the ringer and back, I'll just say it, and I'm just happy that you are willing to come back in an advisory capacity. As we've said, people gotta have some history to kind of help the newer members to understand what was the problem then to change it for the better. But I know the committee has some questions for you, so I'll start with Senator King. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Senator.
Having served on the last board, where you had authority, and now sitting on this board, so what do you think you can do now that you couldn't do before, and why?
Well, there's actually, the question might be better framed, what are you not able to do now that you could do then? And I would say that, of course, our first primary responsibility now is to nominate the CEO, which was part of our previous kuleana. After that, the board will have to carve out its new direction and power, which we will have as an advisory board. If you look at 201B, 2B, the authority is the advisory board. That's the language. That never changed. Before it was the authority is the governing board. Now it's the advisory board. Sure, our CEO has 10 or 12 powers that the board, that the statute confers upon the CEO, but there's a number of responsibilities that are still not specified to any other entity but the authority. So this advisory board, its first issue from my perspective was, how do we craft our bylaws to provide an ability for this board and all future boards to have an effect upon the authority? And I'll just say that as a member of the prior board and the difficulties we went through, our appalling behavior, according to some of our witnesses, we lost a lot of our manao, a lot of our spirit, a lot of our gravitas, our power, and we gave it away in factionalism and leverage. And I'm sure this legislature knows much about those two items and how powerful and at times corrosive they can be. So we've been reconstituted by this legislature. Act 132 created this new entity. We will flesh it out. It will take time. It's not a 4-month or a 6-month project to understand who we are as an advisory board, but I believe we will either muddle through or power through it and make for a better authority.
But as the co-chair now, and having been on the board, again, the question is, what can you do now, or why you wanted to come back and be here in this capacity versus the last capacity you had, which obviously were more authority and more power than you do now. So what is it as co-chair that you're going to drive this advisory board and HTA?
So I would, the basis will be the 2024 governance report that the authority funded and have as our base document. We use it for our strategic plan, the basis for our strat plan. I think that the future governance of the authority will not look like it does today. I think this legislature will continue to amend 201B to hopefully and eventually get it right. I think that there's a problem with unfunded mandates at this point, where the legislature has asked the authority to solve many problems, to take a lot of responsibilities for destination stewardship and management that is beyond the ability for the size of our staff, the size of our budget, and of course the various regulatory and control environments between departments is not something that HTA has any power to resolve. I would hope the legislature would reduce, so to speak, the authority's interests back to its founding in 1998-99, which is the brand of Hawaii, and promoting our the concepts of Hawaii for return visitors, so that we can create a recurring visitor group that has the best interests of our community and culture at heart, which means that they have a selective interest in staying in Hawaii as a destination. What this board can do to affect that would be to constantly impress upon the authorities, staff, and our contractors, we have the two, HVCB and the Hawaiian Council, and how they perform and how they will present their future contracts to reflect the interests of this board. So our advisory ability has to be proactive rather than accepting reports and being reactive.
I agree. But back in 98, 99, when HTA was thought of, it was a mess. The board was a mess. There were conflicts. There were loss of funding. When I got in 2000 and took over the tourism chair in 2001, it was a mess. And then we had to, over the years, and by towards the ending of 2000, 2008, 2009, we finally thought we had it right. It was working really well. But personalities change, people change. And it wasn't the structure back then, it was individuals and leaders, or leaders that had lacked the ability or conflicts of interest that messed it all up and put us in the position. And I warned them back then that if you're not going to be careful, you're the only entity that has dedicated funding through the TAT, that you're going to lose that money one day. And sure enough, I never thought I'd see it in my lifetime that funding would be taken away, and it was. And be it may that the entity had come to that point that forced the legislature to do what they've done, and it's a sad situation. But again, it's a lot of times it's the individuals that then take over the helm and not necessarily follow what the intent should be. And so therein lies the issue. So, the fact that we have this new board, and that's great, but at some point, members leave, things change, and we're in that situation. So I think the biggest thing that this board can do is to hold HTA accountable, hold leadership accountable, hold employees accountable for what it is that is going on. Because therein lies the issue. And sometimes some board members in the past have had the ear of the administration and therefore did things beyond what was allowed because the people in charge allowed to be manipulated. And those are the things that happen, especially in the tourism industry, hospitality industry. There is a lot of special interests that goes on and people's relationships, which then interfere with doing what the right thing to do. So I hope you guys keep that in mind as you guys go forward, because it's not an easy job. You have a lot of people out there with different interests. That's your friends, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Wakai.
Jim, I have great respect for your business acumen, and you and I have had years and years of discussion about tourism, where it's been, where it needs to go. When you first were put onto the board, HTA's responsibility was branding and marketing. It has since crept into stewardship, right? Taking care of the culture, taking care of our natural resources. It's a kind of a different set of responsibilities from simply bringing bodies here, dropping your money here, and going back to wherever you came from. So how, in this new world of stewardship and branding, do you envision HTA to be successful at both?
At both branding and stewardship?
Yes.
I frankly don't believe we can be at this funding level with the staff on hand and the responsibilities in 201B that have been added in, I think it was Act 224, previous 2024 Act. The Kuleana is huge. I mean, it's asking us to resolve parking lots in Haleiwa, essentially, functionally, it's asking us to resolve, demographic issues. We can do things at the micro level and the macro, but difficult to do it all. And I think if we focus on brand, and brand is not advertising, it's not selling an individual plane seat or an individual pillow on a bed. It's about a perception of Hawaii that goes beyond KPIs. Frank, you asked earlier about how do we take a performance indicator and hold somebody accountable. When you're talking about branding, you're talking about generational. You're talking about impressions made on a 6-year-old when they watch a cartoon about a girl, Moana. That creates a need to take their honeymoon in Hawaii. So we have to think generationally, and you can't minimize the effects that a dollar spent now in the proper way can have a multiplier effect in 5, 10, 20 years. If we talk a $20 billion revenue generator from this industry, and we're talking $2 billion in collective taxes, 800 or 900 million in TAT, 10% of TAT would be a minimal level in any other polity, any other tourist area. If you were to say, what's the direct allocation from cause and to effect? In other words, the effect is the 900 million. The cause, we did that with what? 30 million, 50 million? We got a lot of bang for our buck in that, in some respects. Now, are people going to come to Hawaii if there's no HTA? Yes. If we have no branding, are people going to come to Hawaii? Yes. But over time, what kind of people? And how will they come? Will it be seasonal? How do we smooth things out? That's one of the things Terry talked about with our convention center. A convention center brings in people on their calendar, not spring break, not summer vacation, not Christmas holidays. So that's a huge capacity of the convention center, is to buffer or to ameliorate the effects of when tourism flows in. I went off a little on the farm there. Getting back to,
You can sum it up, because I got it.
okay.
Yeah, I got it.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Sorry, Senator Wakai, yeah.
Well, I'll be happy to go to any of your offices and talk at any time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other follow-up questions? Okay, we're good? Thank you. Thank you. Seeing none, I'm gonna jump to the last GM. GM 604, Board of Directors, HTA Christian West for term 6/30/2028. First up, CEO, Interim President CEO Caroline Anderson.
Hello, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. We stand in our written testimony and strong support of Member West. He brings extensive knowledge, in the cruiser industry, and especially in sports, and we appreciate his guidance, and he has helped with our prime manager for sports and the HCA staff as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Deputy Director Jamie Tokioka.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I will just keep it short and follow the words of Caroline Anderson, because she's been great. We brought him back, and he's continuing to be a great asset for the board. Thank you.
Thank you. And last up, Randy Pereira for AFL-CIO in support as well. Seeing no one else is here to testify on his behalf, and I don't think we get him on, so we don't have him. Okay, we're gonna move right into decision making. Okay. Okay, so, decision-making going forward, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Advisory Board of Directors of the Hawaii Tourism Authority for GM 594, Daniel Ujiri, GM 595, Joel Guy, GM 596, Linda Wong, GM 597, Kimberly Agas, GM 598, Terry Fisher, GM 599, Maricia Elmore, GM 600, Grant Tabora, GM 601, Troy Lazaro, GM 602, Leo Bamonte, GM 603, James McCully, and GM 604. Submitting for, oh yeah. What is it? Oh, sorry, and GM 604, Christian West, all for a term to expire 6/30/2028, 6/30/2028. Oh, you know what? Sorry. Wait, hang on.
602, GM 602, the whole 2020.
Yes, okay, so up to GM 6062,
GM 694 all the way to GM 602.
yeah, so GM 594 all the way up to GM 602 for a term to expire 6/30/2029. Vote is to advise and consent. Any? Okay, I'm gonna take that all back. We get 3 minutes. Hang on, everybody. Okay, here we go on. Let's start over. Okay. Submitting for consideration confirmation to the Advisory Board of Directors of the Hawaii Tourism Authority, GM 594 Danny Ojiri, GM 595 Joel Guy, GM 596 Linda Wong, GM 598 Terry Fisher, GM 599 Marissa Elmore, GM 600 Grant Tabura, GM 601 Troy Lazaro, and GM 602 Leo Belmonte for a term to expire 6/30/2029. Advise and consent. Any discussion? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote, Chair goes aye.
I vote yes. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Kim.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendations are adopted.
Thank you. Next up, GM 597, submitting for consideration and confirmation to Advisory Board of Directors of the Hawaii Tourism Authority for a term to expire 6/30/2026, Kimberly Agas. GM 603, James McCully, and GM 604, Christian West. Advise and consent. Any discussion? Seeing none, Vice Chair Wakai for the vote. Chair goes aye.
I vote yes. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Kim.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendations are adopted.
Thank you. Okay, GM 604, submitting for consideration to the Hawaii Tourism Authority, Christian West, a term to expire 6/30/2028. Advise and consent. Any discussion? Seeing none, Vice Chair Wakai for the vote. Chair goes aye.
I vote yes. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Kim.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendations adopted.
Thank you, and thank you all. Congratulations, and we look forward to working with all of you. With that, we are adjourned.